So you have a negative 3 that's being squared. So a negative times a negative is a positive, so that makes that 9. And then we have x squared squared, which makes x to the 4th. So that's the top part. Then we've got to do the bottom part. So this squared goes to everything. So 5 squared on the bottom is 25. And y cubed squared is y to the 6th. So that's just the first part. So we now have to work with the second parenthesis. So on the second one, the cubed is going to go to everything. So I have negative 5 cubed. So I'm going to go to my calculator and type in negative 5 and cube it. And it says it's negative 125. So times negative 125. And then x cubed becomes x to the 9th. And y squared cubed becomes y to the 6th. So now into the bottom. 3 cubed, 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 more is 27. And then I'm going to go 3 times negative 2, which makes x to the negative 6. But the negative exponent moves it from the bottom up to the top. So now that I've got everything here, I can start simplifying. So I'm going to look for x's on the top. There's 4 here, 9 here, and 6 here. So 4 plus 9 is 13. Plus 6 more makes 19. So x to the 19 on top. There's y6 and y6, one on the bottom and one on the top. So this y6 on the top will cancel off the y6 on the bottom. So those are just gone. 9 and 27 are each divisible by 9. So 9 divided by 9 is 1. 27 divided by 9 is 3. 125 and 25 are each divisible by 25, so that's 1, and that's negative 3. Well, that's convenient. Negative 3 and 3 will each divide. So 125 divided by 25 isn't 3. 125 divided by 25 is negative 5. So that'll be negative 5 here and 3 here. And there's not anything else left, so that is the solution. So good catch on the mistake. So question 22, it has a negative exponent and a negative value on the inside. Realize the only one that flips is the negative exponent. So the negative 2 on the outside makes it turn into 4 over 3, but the 3 is still negative. And now it's not a negative 2 out there, it's just a 2. So now I'm going to square everything. 4 squared is 16. Negative 3 squared, negative 3 times negative 3 is a positive 9. All right, so on 23, so the negative exponent flips it all upside down, so it's 2 over negative 5, all of it's cubed. So 2 times 2 is 4. So 4 times 2 makes 8, so the top is 8. And we just did negative 5 cubed earlier is negative 125. All right, so anything to the 0 power turns into 1, right? So realize that the 3 does not have a power of 0. 3 has a power of 1, so that stays as 3, but x to the 0 goes to 1. So it's really 3 times 1. 2x is all to the 0 power, so all of this goes to 1. So 3 plus 1. Negative 5 is to the 0 power, so that goes to 1. And 3x squared is all to the 0 power, so that also goes to 1. So I have 3 plus 1, which is 4, minus 1 is 3, plus 1 makes 4. 25 is the favorite question. Square root of 9 is 3. 26 isn't bad either. What's the square root of 16? So 16 is 4 times 4, right? X to the 4th, I can make how many pairs out of that? So 2 pairs, so that's x squared. So those are my 2 pairs. On 27, x to the ninth, we're looking for how many groups of 3 we can make. So if I were to write out x to the ninth as it is, we see that there are 3 groups of 3. So that makes x cubed. So on 28 groups of 3, 16 is 4 times 4. 4 is 2 and 2. So there's one group of 2's. So there's 3 2's there. So they come out, but the other one doesn't get to come out. X to the 10th, the easy way to do these is to take that power and divide it by the number on the outside. So 10 divided by 3 is 3. So I know I can get 3 whole pairs with 1 left over. You remember doing that? So 10 divided by 3 is 3 with the remainder of 1. So 10 divided by 3 is 3 with the remainder of 1. Yeah. So how many groups of 3 can we make out of 4? 1 with the remainder of. So there's one group of y's, they come out, and there's one remainder left over. So the ones that didn't come out are x and y. So the other way to write it is if I did x to the 10th, I could write it as x times 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 x. So there's one group, 2 groups, 3 groups. Each group comes out, and there's 1 left over. So again, the number on the outside tells me how many of a kind I need. So the 5 tells me I need 5 of a kind for it to come out. So 4086, I'm going to break it down. I'm going to try to see if it's divisible by 9. So 4 plus 8 is 12, plus 6 is 18. And since 18 is divisible by 9, I know 486 is divisible by 9. So I'm going to go 486 divided by 9 is 54. So this is 9 and 54. 9 is 3 and 3. 54 is 9 times 6. So 9 is 3 and 3. 6 is 3 and 2. So now I see I have a group of 5 3's. So that's 5 of the kind that I'm after. So since I have 5 3's, they get to come out. The 2 doesn't get to come out because it doesn't have 5 of a kind with it. It's all by itself. X to the 10th, how many groups of 5 can I make out of 10 things? So I can make 2 groups. The easy way is to go 10 divided by 5 is 2. How many groups can I make out of 15? So that's 3. And since it has a negative power, we just put it to the bottom, but no longer a negative. Okay, it would have been negative on top, but since we moved it to the bottom, the negative is not there. And out of 23, how many groups of 5 can I make out of 23? So I can make 4 whole groups. 4 times 5 is 20. And so that leaves 3 left that hang out on the inside. And so that's my answer. So we carry the 5 down to tell us it's a 5th root. So on 28, I should have carried this 3 down to make sure we understand it's still a cube root. Okay, so that 3 should have been carried down to make sure that's a cube root. So same thing on 30, it's a cube root, meaning I'm looking for groups of 3 of a kind. So 125, we've already kind of discovered that 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. So 3 5's make 125. And the negative, if I have a negative times a negative times a negative, it makes a negative, right? So it's okay to have a negative as long as it's an odd power. So what number multiplied by itself 3 times is negative 125? That's negative 5. And now we're going to say how many groups of 3 can I take out of 7? So I can take out 2 full groups, and there's 1 left over. And then we want to make sure we bring the 3 down as well to make sure it's a cube root. And that's my answer. So on 31, it's a square root. There doesn't exist a number multiplied by itself that's a negative. So this negative comes out as an I. So anytime you see a negative under a square root, a 4th root, anything that's an even root, the negative always comes out as an I. So that just represents that there was a negative under the square root. So 28 is 4 times 7. 4 is 2. So there's a pair of 2s, so they get to come out, and the 7 stays in. And we have the I that's with it to signify there was a negative under the square root. Thanks. So the negative comes out as an I. 625 I know is divisible by 5, so I'm going to go 625 divided by 5. And then I'm going to divide that by 5 again. So now I'll go back to here. So 5 and 125. 125 made 5 and 25. And 25 made 5 and 5. So there are 2 pairs of 5s. There's one. And there's a pair. So each pair comes out and you multiply them back together. So that makes 25I. Okay, on 33, this is saying we have 3 of these creatures, and we're adding 2 more of those creatures to it. So if I add them together, 3 plus 2 makes 5 square roots of 5. And that's all you have to do on 33. That's the answer. On 34, they're not the same kind of creature, so you can't do what we did on 33. Because on 33, we just said there's 3 and there's 2 of them. But on 34, they're not the same thing, so you have to break them down. So 8 is 4 and 2. 4 is 2 and 2, so there's a pair of 2's that come out. 162, if I add 1 plus 6 plus 2, that makes 9. So I know 162 is divisible by 9. So I'm going to go to my calculator. 162 divided by 9 is 18. So 9 and 18. 9 and 2, so there's a pair of 9, right? So now they're the same creatures. We have 2 square roots of 2 plus 9 square roots of 2. So 35. 250 is 125 divided by 2, right? And 125 we've already decided is 25 times 5 because it's shown up a whole bunch of times. And 25 is 5 and 5. So there's a 3 on the outside, meaning I'm looking for groups of 3. So those 5s are my group of 3 5s, and I multiply it to the 4 that's already out here. So that's 20 cube roots of, the only thing left is a 2, so it stays in. 432, 4 plus 3 plus 2 is 9, so I know 432 is divisible by 9. So 432 divided by 9 is 48. So that's 9 and 48. 48 is 8 times 6. So 8's 4 and 2. 4 is 2 and 2. 6 is 2 and 3. And 9 is 3 and 3. So I'm looking for groups of 3. So there's 1, 2, 3 3s. And then there's 1, 2, 3 2s. So there's 3 3s and 3 2s. And so when they come out, they multiply each other. So 3 times 2 is 6. If there's a number in front, they also multiply that number in front. So that's how we ended up with 20 before. We brought the 5s out, multiplied the 4. And there's 1, 2 that didn't get used. And it's still a cube root of 2. So now we have 20 cube roots of 2 and negative 6 cube roots of 2. So 20 minus 6 is 14 cube roots of 2. So I don't know what happened to 36. Like it goes 35 and then 37. Like somewhere 36 just went away. I don't know why. So we're going to multiply 2 times. So there's no signs in between these other than 2 parentheses. So that means we multiply. So 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times negative square roots of 5 is 2 square roots of 5. So you can only multiply them together if they're both outside of square roots or both inside. But if they're different, then you just put them next to each other. So now I've got to do the square root of 3 to both of them, though. So square root of 3 times 3 is 3 square roots of 3. And now the last one, these are both underneath the square root, so you can multiply them together. So 3 times 5 is 15. So now I'm looking at these. Are any of these the same? None of them are. So you can't combine them, so that's your answer. 38. So we're going to take this 3. There's no signs in between these. It's 2 parentheses, so we're distributing again. So 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times the square root of 2 is plus 3 square roots of 2. And now we have negative square roots of 2 times 3. So that's negative 3 square roots of 2. And we have negative square roots of 2 times square roots of 2. So that makes negative square roots of 4. And the square root of 4 is just 2. So in the middle we have a positive 3 square roots of 2 minus 3 square roots of 2. So those cancel out, and we're left with 9 minus 2, which is 7. So 7 is our answer. So on the last problem, realize that 4 was 2 and 2, so a pair of 2's came out. So that's where this came from. The minus carried down with it, so 9 minus 2 made 7. On 39, 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times the square root of 10 is just 5 square roots of 10. And now we're going to distribute the negative square roots of 10. So negative square roots of 10 times 3 is negative 3 square roots of 10. And the last one we have is the square root of 10 times the square root of 10, which is the negative square roots of 100. But the square root of 100, so there's a pair of 10s, right? They come out, so that's minus 10. So now I'm going to combine like terms. So 15 minus 10, those two will combine. So that's 5. And then we have the last part, 5 minus 3. 2. So we have 2, and it's a positive 2 square roots of plus 2 square roots of 10. Okay.